Hello, and welcome to a video presentation on percent of a number. Here's what you'll learn: how to find the percent of a number. This lesson will demonstrate two ways of solving percent of a number problems. In method number 1, we'll translate the words in the problem into an equation and then solve for the missing value. In method number 2, we'll use a formula, replacing words and symbols in the formula with numbers. Then we'll solve for the missing value. Let's start by looking at method number 1, translating words into an equation. What is 22% of 30? We can create an equation using the words in the problem. First, the word what indicates that something is unknown. And we use a variable in math to represent an unknown number. So I'm going to use the letter x. So let's write down x to start. Next, the word is in math means equals. So let's add that to the equation we're creating so that so far we have x equals. Next comes 22%. In these types of equations, we convert percents to their decimal equivalents. Percent means per hundred, so we're going to divide 22 by 100 to get our decimal equivalent of 0.22. Next, the word of means multiply, so let's insert a multiplication symbol. Finally, the last number is 30, and that's what we're multiplying by. Now we simply multiply 0.22 and 30, and we get x equals 6.6, or 6.6 is 22% of 30. What is 480% of 120? Again, we can create an equation using the words in the problem. First, the word what indicates something is unknown, so we use a variable to represent an unknown number. Again, let's just use the letter x, so I'll write down an x. Next, the word is means equals in math, so let's add that to the equation we're creating. Now we have x equals. Next comes 480%. Again, in equations, we want to convert percentages to their decimal equivalents. Since percent means per hundred, we're going to divide 480 by 100 to get the decimal equivalent of 4.8. Next, the word of means multiply, so let's insert a multiplication symbol. And finally, the last number is 120, so that's what we're multiplying by. Now we simply multiply 4.8 and 120 to get x equals 576. So 576 is 480% of 120. Now let's look at method number 2, the formula method. Many percentage problems can be solved using a formula. A formula is just a group of words or symbols in the form of an equation that allows you to solve for certain mathematical values. Here's a formula we can use to solve percent of a number problems. This formula is read as is over of equals percent over 100. Having a formula to help solve problems is fun, and it happens to be easy. With a formula, all you do is replace the words or symbols in the formula with corresponding numbers from the problem, and then solve for whatever's missing. This particular formula is a proportion, and it requires 4 numbers, one number for the numerator and denominator of each fraction. One number, 100, is already provided in the formula. It never changes. We are missing, however, numbers for the words is and of course the percent symbol. If we're given just 2 of those 3 missing numbers, we can solve the proportion for the third number by cross-multiplying. Now let's look at some examples. What is 34% of 152? Let's start by writing our percentage formula off to the side for reference. So I'll write down is over of equals percent over 100. Now set up a similar proportion, leaving the words blank for now. So we'll have two ratios that equal each other. And the only number we know so far is the 100. That's always going to be in the denominator of our second ratio. We're going to replace two of the three empty spots with numbers in just a moment. Then we'll be able to solve for the missing value by cross-multiplying. Now let's read the question one part at a time. It starts with what is. Again, that means we're looking for the value of is in our formula. Let's replace is in the numerator of the first fraction with our variable. Again, let's use x. Now continuing on, the next part of the question reads 34%. Now where do you suppose the number 34 will go in our formula? If you said we replaced the percent symbol with 34, you're correct. We put 34 over 100 because that ratio represents 34%. Now continuing on, the last part of the question reads of 152. So the word of is going to be replaced with 152. Now we can solve the proportion for x by cross-multiplying. We know that x times 100 gives us 100x, and 152 times 34 is 5,168. Next, we need to cancel out the 100 with the x by dividing both sides by 100. On the left now, the 100s cancel, leaving us with just our variable x on the left-hand side. And on the right, 5,168 divided by 100 is 51.68. So 51.68 is 34% of 152. Now, what is 150% of 40? Again, let's start by writing our percentage formula off to the side for reference. Is over of equals percent over 100. Now set up a similar proportion, leaving the words blank for now. Two ratios equal to each other. Don't forget, we're going to have 100 in the denominator of the second ratio. It's the only number we know so far. We're going to replace two of the three empty spots with numbers in just a moment. Then we'll be able to solve for the missing value by cross-multiplying. Now let's read the question one part at a time. Again, it starts with what is. So that means we're looking for the value of is in our formula. Let's replace is in the numerator of the first fraction with our variable, and we'll use x again. Continuing on, the next part of the question reads 150%. So we're going to replace the percent symbol with the number 150. Continuing on, the last part of the question reads of 40. So the word of is going to be replaced with the number 40. Now our proportion is totally set up. We can solve for x by cross-multiplying. X times 100 is 100x, and 40 times 150 is 6,000. Next, we need to cancel out the 100 with the x by dividing both sides by 100. On the left now, the 100s cancel, leaving us with just our value or variable x. And on the right, the 6,000 divided by 100 is 60. So x equals 60, or 60 is 150% of 40. Now let's wrap this up with a word problem. The Earth has a total surface area of 510,072,000 square kilometers. Of that amount, 29.2% is land. What is the surface area of the Earth that is land? Let's start by writing our percentage formula off to the side. It'll be useful in this problem. We'll write is over of equals percent over 100. Now set up a similar proportion, leaving the words blank for now. So once again, two ratios equal to each other. Again, the only number we know so far is 100 in the denominator of our second ratio. We'll replace two of these three empty spots with numbers in just a moment. Then we'll be able to solve by cross-multiplying for our missing value. Now, before we analyze the word problem, it's obvious our percent number in the problem, 29.2%, is going to go over 100. It's the only percentage number in our problem, and the problem isn't asking us to solve for a percentage. So we know we're going to replace the percent symbol with 29.2. Now, with the words is and of in multiple locations throughout our word problem, it may be difficult to pick out which words apply to which numbers to properly set up the rest of our proportion. So let's look at this problem in a slightly different way. The total surface area of the Earth is 510,072,000 square kilometers. Now, do you expect this number to be larger or smaller than the amount of land area? Think about that for a minute. Obviously, the amount of total surface area on Earth has to be a larger number than the amount of land area. Okay, keep that in mind. And while you do, look at the second ratio, 29.2 over 100. Since the larger number is on the bottom in that ratio, the larger number has to be on the bottom in our first ratio too. So 510,072,000 is going to go in the denominator of our first ratio. That's how we know to set it up. Hence, our variable x will go in the numerator of the first ratio. Now, if you're still not clear on where the numbers go, here's another way to look at properly setting up the ratio. Let me go ahead and erase those numbers and try rewriting it again. The problem states 29.2% of the Earth's surface area is land. So all numbers dealing with land go in the numerators. Our 29.2 is in the numerator of the second ratio, so all land figures are going to go in the numerator of our first ratio. Then all numbers dealing with total surface area are going to go in the denominators. Since we're looking for the amount of Earth's surface area that is land, that means our variable x is going to go in the numerator of the first ratio, and then the total amount of the Earth's surface area, 510,072,000 square kilometers, goes in the denominator of the first ratio. Now we can go ahead and cross multiply to solve for x. X times 100 is 100x, and 510,072,000 times 29.2 is, I had to get out my calculator for this one, 14,894,102,400. Next, we need to cancel out the 100 with x that we're trying to solve for by dividing both sides by 100. On the left then, the 100s will cancel, leaving us with just the x we're trying to solve for. And on the right, 14,894,102,400 divided by 100 is still a pretty good sized number, 148,941,024. So that's our answer. The surface area on Earth that's land is 148,941,024 square kilometers. Congratulations! You've learned how to find the percent of a number.